Hey,
Okay,
we're recording.
so I know I forgot to do that the last time I led until like a third of the way in, and I was like, oh man. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Um, so that we can kind of go over the last thing. So I figured what we could do is have the language to target resource discussion first, and then go over the priorities, projects, and initiatives, start reviewing the language to see if there's any edits that we want to make, and then attaching years to the specific actions. So that's what we'll be doing today. I think this is kind of where you guys stopped last time, was the language discussion for the resource assistance, because you guys weren't sure. So I just kind of want to go over that real quick with you guys to give you an idea of why we're even talking about this. So basically, when you have an entity that provides resources, and you have a goal of expanding or breaking down barriers, you have to assess who is the most at-risk group, right? Who is not getting the assistance and help that they need. And you should put in language to make sure that your resources are going to be targeting those folks. Because what happens if you don't is basically the folks that have the most time, energy, and available resources will go after the resources, and that's end up who you'll be mostly catering to, because the people that don't have the resources are not going to be able to go out of their way. They're the ones that are already struggling. So basically what we're wanting to do is to find a way that we can ensure that we're going to continue to help small and medium farmers and make sure that we're helping farmers of different nationalities and things like that. So we'll put in language to do that, and we can discuss like what we want for this, how we want to decide the farm sizes or operations. But I just want to mention, this doesn't exclude the department from helping anybody. So just because you put in language to target resources to help a specific demographic does not mean they can't help people outside of that demographic. It just means that they have to focus their resources on the majority of the help going to meet those needs. And then the people that have the ability to kind of navigate that process on their own because they may have more resources can do that, and they won't be turned away. It just makes the department focus on a different demographic. Does that make sense? So that's why we're discussing this here, because basically a lot of the complaints, while we were doing the research for this department, was that the small and medium-sized farmers did not feel like they were being attended to by the state and federal efforts. They felt like it was really hard processes to navigate. They felt like it wasn't really available to them. They didn't have people that could go lobby or go to the legislation or go meet with legislators and things like that to get the resources that were needed. And so they felt like those resources really weren't for them. And so we thought, a department could really focus on that. And then through the surveys that we've taken, that has been a thing in the comments repeatedly, is the community wants this to help small farmers. They want this to help small local farmers and small operations and things like that. So that's why we're having this discussion. So I just wanted to put that out there because I think there was some confusion last night on what it was about. Does anybody have questions on like why we need to have that discussion or anything like that, or that doesn't understand it? No? Everybody's good now? Okay.
Yeah, no question.
Okay. So basically I did go through and pull some resources that says, like, according to this link, small operations are less than 250,000, large are considered 250,000 to 500,000, and very large are more than 500,000. There's also another one that breaks it down from 150,000 to 350,000, and then 350,000 to just under 1 million, and then large being 1 million to almost 5 million, and then very large being 5 million. So there's things that we could quote if we want to use one of those models to break it down in that manner. But yeah, I just wanted to put those out there so you guys could get an idea of like what the USDA has for different brackets. Does anybody have any?
No, we discussed those last time, I think. We got those from USDA. Yeah.
So did you guys have a preference on which one you guys were leaning towards, or did you want to create a different size? I think going with something that's already been established is probably better. Than there's not really a question on how we came up with that. We can just say we utilize this.
Yeah, that's what we agreed last time, is to utilize what's there. It's
okay.
Already being used.
So did we want to go with the lower end, or do you want to go? Did you guys discuss going with the lower or the higher end? You guys can unmute yourself too. I can only see like 3 people at a time when I share my screen, so it's hard for me to see anybody's like reaction or anything.
I'm not understanding your question. Go with meaning what?
Okay, so if you can you see column D where I just highlighted? Okay, right. So I put in these 2 links. These are both USDA links,
right?
But they have 2 different categories basically. So this one just goes small, large, and very large, and this one has small, moderate, mid-size, large, and very large. So we could go with either of these. And if we want the second one, we could say they need to target resources for small to large size farms, and then put the breakdown of those monetary sizes or income levels. If we wanted to go with the second one, I would probably suggest going, directing the services from low to mid-size farms. But that's a conversation, that's just what I was thinking, but feedback and group discussion is what we want right now. So
Jennifer, the thing is, we don't on the first section, the 250, we don't actually know whether that's sales, revenue, or profit. So these could be very similar.
Yeah, let me go.
It says gross. Move to the right. Under
gross.
G. Under G.
Sales. Yeah.
Yeah. So gross cash farm income.
Okay.
Is there a way we can combine the two? Add in smallish under low sales, and because I really like covering that income group, people that are small farmers and that would have that kind of revenue under 250,000. That's more inclusive than, starting at I see. It's 200 low sales farms start under 150,000.
Yeah, then there's moderate, mid-size, large, and very large. So the second option in D, the second citation has 5 categories, where the first one only has 3. I honestly think that the second one is more comprehensive. And, we wouldn't have to make it like family farms or anything. We could say agricultural operations. So that could include, all different types of ag operations within the ag sector. But it just kind of basically would allow, because there are ranchers that have mid-sized ranches that are making, 500,000, but they're not large. They're not making over $1 million, and they can't really afford fencing and things like that. Even though that's what their operation is, they're still like not making a huge living either. So I like that there's more categories in this, but this is more, the 3 is very straight to the point.
Yeah, the 3 is less wiggle room. I like the second one with 5 different categories, and I like that the low one is less than 150,000. You know, the majority of farmers are low sale farms.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna agree with Teresa. I think in the situation for where we live,
And it knows the percentage of small farms.
yeah, I think the second one makes more sense for the
I
state of
agree.
Hawaii.
And so if we use that, do we want to say farms or do we want to say agricultural operations to open it up more?
I think agricultural operations is a way to go, because it includes farms, family farms. So that makes sense.
Okay. Is there anybody that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was in support of that. I should just put my thumb up.
It's okay. I can't see everyone, so I appreciate the speaking up for sure. Okay, so is there anybody
I like
that
it.
doesn't want to go with the second one for the breakdown? Okay, so we'll go with the second one. Is there anyone that doesn't want to change it from farms to agricultural operations? Okay, perfect. Okay, and then for the targeting of resources, we obviously don't want it to be wide open from low all the way to very large. So where do you think the majority of the assistance should be directed to? Do we think that's mid-size down or moderate down?
Moderate down.
I would say moderate down.
Jen, each USDA program, farm programs, kind of have their own rules for whatever. And so it's gonna be in that, like they have this AGI, adjusted gross income. A lot of them is if you make over $1 million, you don't qualify for the program. So many of the programs. So it's gonna be in their rule book, kind of, so to say.
Oh yeah, but we're not following these specifically. We're just kind of using them as guides to be able to ensure that the resources from the department are helping the people that need it the most. And not just going to large, huge ag operations. So one of the conversations that, not one, but multiple conversations throughout this process is like, how do we guarantee this department isn't just going to help out the big farms and not the small guys like the state and federal level has done? So something that we need to do is make sure that we put language in there that has the department targeting resources to help a specific demographic of agricultural operations. So we're just using these as a baseline. That way, if somebody says, oh, well, where did you come up with these brackets? You just made them up. We can point them. No, we actually looked at the USDA website and we pulled it from there to find the different income brackets. So we were just talking about whether or not it would be better to go with the 3 from the first citation or with the 5 from the second citation. And then where we would like, it's not a cutoff point, but where we would like the resources to be focused on the most. So there, a couple people said just from the moderate and down. So that would be agricultural operations making less than $350,000 would be where the majority of resources from the department should go. However, that doesn't exclude them from helping the other brackets. It doesn't exclude them. It doesn't count anybody else out. It just tells the department, these are the ag operations that you need to focus on helping the most. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
You wanna, so you took this out like word for word?
I didn't take it word for word. I just pulled their income brackets from those, but you can go to those links. That's where I grabbed them
Yeah,
from.
it's fine. The only suggestion I would have, and it's for discussion, the one with the 5 things, low sale farms, less than 150,000. Everything's between. And if you wanna put in between 1,000 and 150,000.
Oh, between 1,000 and 150,000. Okay.
Just, I mean, you don't have to, but it kind of makes
No,
it.
I think that's a good idea because that's, that's where the water
where their
rates and stuff
baseline
start
is, huh?
considering ag. And
Yeah.
there, I mean, there is that up here that says, that was another
Right.
thing. USDA defines a farmer as making $1,000 gross income.
Yeah, that way you remind them of that. in
Okay.
that thing.
Does anybody disagree with that? Or we can change it from 1,000 to 150,000?
I agree.
I agree.
Okay, so we'll change that. And then the other thing, William, I'm not sure if you heard that we wanted to change the language from farms to agricultural operations. Okay,
I got that.
okay,
yeah.
awesome. The second thing, so do we, I think we're good on that for right now. The other thing is including other languages for materials. So because we have a lot of Micronesian, farmers and things that may not be able to get assistance if there is a language barrier, they may not feel they're able to. Do we want to put in something that says the department needs to be inclusive of the different
Languages and cultures, yes.
languages and cultures and have materials available to ensure that they're not
Absolutely.
leaving them behind or
Yeah.
something like that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Does anybody have any language ideas for how that should be written? Sorry.
Just culturally and language sensitive.
I think if we look at how like the Department of Health submits or releases healthcare information, like to all the different categories of languages, I would follow something like that. I know Kaiser, when you get their bill, is all these different links that give you places to look up that language, whatever language that you speak. It's a link to something where they can read it in their language.
So Jennifer, the language that's used for that is culturally and language sensitive. I just did $1.5 million grants using those words.
Culturally and language sensitive. Okay.
Right.
So we will use, is anybody opposed to using that language?
Does that sensitive mean available? Can accommodate?
Well, accommodate cultural and language sensitivities, yes.
Okay, so the department shall
Provide.
accommodate cultural and language
Sensitive material.
sensitivities,
Sensitive materials.
sensitive materials.
Do you
Oh, I like
want to list the different languages that it should be available in?
No, there's like 120 of them. No.
I
Okay,
know, but the people that are we don't have 120 different cultures that would probably be
Yeah.
accessing that here in.
Yeah, we actually do. We actually do here on Maui.
Really?
MEDB tracks them, yes.
Okay.
yeah, and
Yeah,
for the
it's
code,
astonishing.
it would be a little hard to list all of them in the code. They probably wouldn't let us do that, to be
Okay.
honest. Okay,
USDA has language in that regards,
Yes.
and I've heard it called, Jerry, you might know this, Farmer Jerry, socially disadvantaged.
Well,
Farmer.
that's the group you're approaching, yes.
Yeah.
So it's socially and remote disadvantaged.
Yeah. I forget the exact word, but
Underserved is another word that is used.
to run parallel with their language.
Right. So these are words we use at the university and we use in multiple of the nonprofits.
okay, so I've got resources from the department should accommodate cultural and language sensitive materials.
Perfect.
Okay, all right, awesome. Is there anything anyone else can see for the targeting of resources that we should address? I think those were the two main things that I could see was, making sure that the department is not just going to be helping, super huge ag businesses that don't really need the help, but can utilize it because they have the time and resources to navigate it. And then language. Anything else?
Should there be any language included to focus on women, women-owned farms and agriculture?
That was the language that was just used. That's the
Disadvantage.
disadvantage, yes. But you can say that USDA has and multiple other areas have special programs for women-owned small businesses, veterans-owned small businesses, minority-owned small businesses, and just basically disadvantaged small businesses or underserved small businesses. You get special loans and special considerations for grants and things.
So do we want to add that language in? Sorry, did I cut somebody off? I apologize.
No, sorry. I was just saying, yes, Barbara, we should have something on that order. Special consideration for minority-owned small businesses.
Okay.
Minority owned ag operations. Okay. All right. Awesome job, you guys. Okay, so now the fun part. We're gonna go to sheet 2. This is where everything was transferred to. And I am just going, I'm gonna put the link in the thing. Is there anybody that doesn't have a way to look it up right now? Because I was going to put the link in the chat so that everybody could read through the language real quick to see if there was any glaring things, or I guess we could read it together if you want. Do you guys want to read it all together?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, probably better. We discuss as we go.
Okay. Okay.
Let's see where that link is.
Sorry.
I put the link in the chat in case anybody wants to pull it on their screen. Okay, so for water, we have the action to be represent the agricultural community's voice on water issues, both currently and long-term, and develop an action plan and costs in collaboration with the water department, which will address the ag community's concerns, such as ensure the public trust doctrine is being upheld, separate water restrictions by island, increase water storage via reservoirs, address prioritization, delivery, water meters, and sustainable yields, help property owners invest in water storage tanks and rain catchment systems, increase usage and projected use of recycled water and allowable usage of gray water in agriculture, implement alternative energy generation, decontamination of wells, publicly accessible water use chart to see how high or how water is currently being used and distributed, and ensure updated in-stream flow standards are met. And then also provide education on I think this should go under education, on the what up.
Yes.
Let me
education.
comment about M.
Okay. Was there anyone that needed a language change or saw a language change in what I just read for water?
No.
I'd like to make a comment about M, the inflow stream
Okay.
standard.
Ensure updated in-stream flow standards are being met.
Right. Can we specify what streams we're talking about, since we have 2 streams in Haiku that are actually being diverted, that aren't part of the streams that are being monitored? Is there a way?
But
I mean,
there's a
what-
lot of streams that have flow standards, so to include them all, it would be a lot of listing. So basically, what this is gonna go into is a strategic plan, so it has to be, you know, comprehensive, but also it can't be like super detailed. We can't go through and list every single stream or every single like standard. Does that make sense?
Can we
Right,
stick
but
an
I'm just-
all in there?
Sorry, what?
Can we stick an all in there?
Ensure all updated in-stream flow standards are being met.
There's some issues with all of these in-stream stuff too, because there's a couple, the Navaja side, that like the demand is higher than, I don't know, if higher than the need or whatever, but in other words, the ag is being shortchanged a lot. And I guess what I'm looking at is with ensuring all you know, stream flows are updated or whatever, where do you go to report it or check on it or try and, you know, that kind of stuff would be my question.
So that would be with the Department of Water. That's where you would check on it and report it. So the beginning of this was what we kind of agreed, like the Department of Ag wouldn't have the ability to really take over anything with water. They can just represent the community's voice and collaborate with them. So these are all things that we would like them to collaborate with, and this is the order basically. But technically this is just kind of one action. It's collaborate, develop action plans and costs in collaboration with them to address these things.
Okay, gotcha.
Jennifer, is there a place here or is this not the place for, we're trying to get the county to approve, mostly as farmers and ranchers, put in a storage tank for sprinkler system for fire protection instead of, you know, instead.
So
Somewhere.
I think F, increase water storage via reservoirs, and we can add water tanks.
No,
No,
it could be a personal water tank at your house just for your sprinkler system in case your house burns up.
This is for fire protection.
Yeah,
so like water storage tanks and rain catchment. So help property owners invest in water storage tanks and rain catchment systems.
got it, Jerry. Where are we gonna put that?
That is more for like, we're talking about catching water for crop uses and house use and all, but Teresa is specifically mentioning, because we ran through this a lot of times, then that stops the building process of farm dwellings or farm stuff because the fire department steps in. So if you have your own fire department in your house, like, you know, sprinkler systems in the home, fire prevention sprinklers, and then a tank to you know, support that system specifically for that.
Okay, so
So
maybe
might be
that,
a separate column, I don't know.
so maybe that's a separate action.
Yeah.
We could say, I'm gonna copy this and put it over here. And then just represent the agricultural community's voice on water issues with the Department of Fire and Public Safety. Isn't that what it is? Department of Fire and Public Safety?
Fire department, basically,
And planning. You know, you
planning,
gotta-
yeah.
It's got to go through them too.
To address water storage for
Fire protection.
fire.
Not
an
necessarily
option.
catchment.
Not
Not
necessarily catchment or
necessarily
tank.
catchment,
Either
Okay.
way,
just
Okay.
tanks, your water tank.
I think,
So
yeah,
just say fire protection and leave out the different
Yes.
forms. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so that would be another separate action that is underwater. Does that
Yeah.
work?
that's good.
Okay,
Thank you.
so anything else in water that we saw?
I'm concerned about what contamination of wells actually means. I mean, is that even possible to decontaminate some of the wells, like the wells in Haiku?
You put a gadget on there with 15 different kinds of filters, and as the water comes out, it decontaminates.
Okay.
UV
Actually,
and
the problem-
charcoal and everything.
The problem is the DVCP left over from the fumigants used in the pineapple industry. And
There are
the-
fungi that can do
The
that.
treatment is to use carbon filter and let's see, and they aerate the water. That's what Mililan is on.
That's
Now,
interesting.
there was supposed to be years ago when they found the DBCP in the water, the chemical companies were they agreed to a fine that they would help provide filters to clean up the water. Now, I don't know if that got still is in place because Michelle Anderson had closed the Hamako Poco wells, which was contaminated with that chemical.
Good girl.
So, but the plan was to use the water and then filter it so that you remove the DBCP from the water. But I don't know if that's still in place.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of new technology and different methods to decontaminating water and water for purification that I think it's worth having the discussion with the Department of Water to see that and adding that, leaving that in.
Well, it's important to look at because Kihei is looking at water from Haiku.
Right.
That's what they're looking at. And I think the Haiku should keep their own water, and but clean up the water.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do we have an idea of how many wells that are currently dug that have water in them that are contaminated?
That would be a question for Department of Water Supply. They would know, but I don't have that information.
3,
The
There
health,
was a
the
study-
health department probably knows though,
Yeah, there's
because
a
they test
study.
water.
There's a study linked to the cesspool and septic tank conversion thing. And it shows 2 wells on Maui and 1 like little bit lower than the high. So like 3 wells at the most. But 2 at a high level and the rest are not. And I think there's 1 shown on Lanai, 1 shown on Oahu, Mililani area.
Yeah.
Up by the Lake Wilson side.
One of the old pineapple guys said that they know where all the contamination is. So you can just avoid those areas with future wells. So they must know which wells are somewhat contaminated.
That's assuming the lens is not interconnected.
Right, and getting back to the issue of actually decontaminating the wells, one of the approaches that has been taken is just dilution, to dilute the water from an uncontaminated, dilute the contaminated water with uncontaminated water until you go below the threshold for human safety. So if it's 100 parts per billion of DBCP, you just add enough uncontaminated water until it's below that. So there's this it's almost like a shell game where you just simply dilute it rather than clean it up, because cleaning it up is much more expensive than diluting it.
Sometimes if water is a finite resource, there could be things like, I know that Paul Stamens had developed a type of mushroom that you put on like hair woven mats, and you can float that in the water and it will pull the toxins out of the water. They were using it for oil spills. So that might be a low cost way that's possible too, or something, things of that nature. UV, there's things that they could look up, but I think it's worth definitely like having the department discuss that with the Department of Water Supply and make sure that we're taking care of our resources and not just writing them off if somebody contaminates them.
Jennifer, do you want input at this point on spelling irregularities in this spreadsheet, or is that going to be cleaned up at a later point in time?
Anytime if you want to. I'm always open to that. If you have the link and you just want to fix it, you see it, go for it. Or we can do that individually, but I'm more focusing on just the content so that we can try and get through it. Because we have to go through each of these and then we have to start putting years to them, to the actions.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, go ahead.
I'm wondering if anything should be specified, because the county is planning to dig more wells to ease up dependence on the diverted water from the streams. So is there something that could, is it worthwhile to put in something that our priority would be to be using water that the county produces from the future wells that it's digging, rather than you know, paying Mahipono for their water? So there's less dependence on the amount of water that needs to come from the diversions.
From a sustainability standpoint, I think you know, surface water and diversion water is probably better to use than groundwater, because we live on an island, and if we deplete our groundwater systems and it becomes like it gets salt intrusion, they're permanently gone. So I think utilizing, you know, diversion water and you know, surface water any way we can, including like storage and reservoirs, is probably the better way to go from a long-term standpoint than just drilling more wells to get more water, because the more wells you have, the harder it is to track where you're at with your groundwater levels too.
Okay.
But that's just my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. Okay, do we have anything else for water, or can we move to infrastructure?
Let's move.
Okay, so for infrastructure, the first one we have is support countywide USDA compliant, including livestock inspection and testing, slaughterhouses, existing, stationary, mobile, and co-ops. Support countywide USDA inspectors for the processing of exotic wildlife. Support the development of municipal compost facilities. Support needs for cold storage equipment, cold storage and equipment. Support needs for commercial kitchens. Support needs for processing, packaging, and distribution facilities. Support nutritional and food safety testing. Setting up a food bank in Lanai and Molokai. Setting up emergency storage and food centers. Support institutional purchasing. Mandate a certain percentage of local purchasing. Are we okay with the language in those and the order?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Go with negative. Nobody's saying it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I go to the landfill, the eco-compost facility. Are they going to continue, or are they being eliminated? Because the county's next dump site, which they are constructing right now, you know, they're already approaching the south side of that area, and that's where eco-compost is. So are they going to move?
I
Does
believe
anybody know?
Eco Compost, their contract is finishing up quite soon, yeah. And then the Mana contract got canceled due to lack of
Is that what happened?
action. So I don't know that there is any plans for current
Well,
county composting.
It's going into the landfill.
It seems to me right above the current, you know, landfill site, you got this deep hole that's not being used for anything. I don't know why you can't relocate them there.
Good point.
I think there was concerns about them integrating the human wastewater sludge and the compost. I think there were people that didn't really felt like that made the compost available for all of the uses that it needs to be made. And then I think, you know, there were costs, concerns and things like that with that operation. But yeah, as far as I know, they didn't get their contract re-upped.
So what are they going to do with the waste?
Dump.
Currently, as far as I understand it from talking to Rubens at EKO,
Yeah.
and maybe William can chime in on this because he's probably talked to Rubens as well. The county fumbled pretty seriously with the previous administration with the assumption that all of the sewage sludge would go into an anaerobic digester under the aegis of Energia, which was a signed contract. And of course, that didn't happen.
Yep.
But the idea that it was going to happen meant that the Arakawa administration did not bother to renew the permit for EKO operating where they're operating, and nor did they bother to look at expanding potential sites for their operations. So Ruben said that was a real problem, and they would see how much of a problem that was once things shut down. And so he's pretty close to shutting down. As I understand it, he's mostly grinding the green waste at the moment, and most of the sewage sludge gets combined with green waste and gets layered into the landfill because he does not have the permit for composting it. So it's been my understanding that that is, in fact, is illegal. So I'm surprised that they were able to get away with that. So the county must have pulled a fast one and did some backroom horse trading in order to get that passed, because legislation in 1992 said you can't put sewage sludge in a landfill unless the landfill has a certain grade to it in terms of water retention, et cetera, and stuff like that. And I don't think the Maui County landfill meets those qualifications. So they're getting some sort of special, and in my opinion, potentially illegal dispensation to continue to get rid of the sewage sludge in a way that they shouldn't, because they fumbled in terms of renewing the permit for the existing area. And because they were starting to expand the landfill, it kind of boxed in EKO. And there were ideas of where they were going to move it. And I think those permits are still a couple of years out from being completed. So with all due respect to the people involved and with an intentional pun implied, it's what you would call a real shit show.
Very
Thank
sad.
you for that breakdown. Very.
You know, Jerry, the health department is pursuing that worms to break down the solid waste. Is that viable?
It's a really interesting technology and it's working in other countries. I think it's viable. It's just that, but they're still in the pilot project phase of that right now.
Because if you do that, you could solve the problem.
Well,
Yes,
it's for, it basically breaks it down to a usable gray water. It wouldn't do like it wouldn't be viable on like the municipality level. It's more to be utilized for like cesspool transitions and things, cost effective, because it's like, I think it costs like $1,000 to make one of the bins. So it's more for small scale.
Yeah, the worms are, they're very dedicated workers. They work 24 hours a day, every week, but they're not the fastest workers in the book. So for example, the city of Adelaide in South Australia does a lot of food waste and paper waste management using worms. And they've got acres of worm bins set up in order to do that. So if Maui County was going to do something like that using worms, and I think actually one of the problems with the worms is that it would be one form of treatment either before thermal composting or after thermal composting, because the requirements for getting up to temperatures of between 135 and 150 in the thermal composting, the reason for that is to remove any potential human pathogens. So you want it warm enough not to pasteurize the compost, but to get rid of salmonella, listeria, E. coli, et cetera. So it's got to get above that 135 degrees, and worms aren't going to do it. That's a cold composting process. So there has to be some sort of thermal process that they use for the sewage sludge, and whether it's thermal composting like EKO has been doing, or if it's anaerobic digestion, which is certainly doable as a technology, but we haven't made, we being the municipality, hasn't made the commitment to that yet.
Okay, so anything else on infrastructure that we saw, or that one is good to go?
Can I make one suggestion on infrastructure to lean towards, I'm sorry, hang on just a sec.
Okay, well, we'll come back to her. Anybody else for infrastructure? Okay, funding is the next one. So funding in that order, we have hire a minimum of 4 grant writers, 2 to focus on capital improvement project funding for the county via the department, and 2 to focus on blanket grants for the community-based needs and providing technical assistance, with 1 of the 2 specifically focused on servicing Molokai, Hana, and Lanai. Develop a special funds to provide funding for all local agriculture, develop a revolving funds to provide loans for all local agriculture, continue to support the ag microgrant program. And that was it for that. Is there anything you guys see that we want to change or add in funding?
Jen, I think you need to add, this is in regards to county when they're offering grants, that they're accessible by a variety of people and not just specific types of businesses like nonprofit or incorporated, and other people cannot apply, especially the smaller farmers, for those grants. And then some of the micro grants, like one they had this past month, I think it's still going on, was farms for I think 12 acres and under.
Under 12 acres.
Under 12 acres, yeah.
12 acres, you're out.
Okay,
Right.
so develop grant programs to,
Grant programs that are accessible by various types of farmers or ag people, ag producers.
you want to
Types
say
and
ag
sizes.
producer or agricultural operations?
Either way. Various types and sizes.
Okay.
Yeah, we hit a brick wall. Thank you.
Is there anything else that we see in that category? Okay, research and development is the next one. Okay, so we have the title heading for that. Create the capacity for research and development within the department to establish a
Sorry, Jen.
pipeline. Sorry, go
Can
ahead.
you back up real quick? I saw something.
Yeah.
So what is the difference between that and develop special funds to provide fund? That's not a grant, that's different. On D.
D,
column D.
special
Yeah.
funds is funding within the county.
Okay.
So if you're talking about develop programs to fund, programs to fund various, sorry, I don't know what I was typing there.
Is this a good place to put equitable? We were talking about fair.
Okay, develop equitable.
Oh, watch out. Good.
Grant programs to fund various types and sizes of agricultural operations.
Is it possible to split that between conventional and organic farming to make sure the organic farmers are getting a fair share of the funding?
You want to split it 50-50? Like, I don't know how we would
Be fair.
split
That would be
it. Well, I think is, it would depend on how many farms are organic, how many farms are conventional, how many farms are like different. You would have to make it fair. It wouldn't be a 50-50 split. It would be based upon how many farms are actually in operation.
Well, maybe that would be the language then.
So
to
equitable.
Well, you have
equitable
the
work.
word various types, so probably within that spot, can dig that up a little.
Yeah,
bit.
I think equitable and various, it covers it to show that it can't all just be one or the other.
Okay, well, from coming from the Kula Egg Park committee, it would be nice to really specify, conventional versus organic. Just, I know it's various types can be implied to cover both, but it's not always
I
lean to.
agree with that because a lot of times the organic get shortchanged. Some of the county people are very biased.
Thank you.
Does that look okay? Sorry, that thing is blocked by my
But not much.
screen, you guys. Organic, sorry.
Operations at the end.
Farms, yeah, either.
Okay.
Sorry, Jen. Making
No,
you
no,
work
sorry.
hard.
This is the whole point of it. Don't be sorry. This is exactly what we're doing. It's the whole point of this meeting. Okay, anything else for funding? Nope. Okay. Back down to research and development. So yeah, create the capacity for research and development within the department to establish a pipeline to gather resource opportunities for the ag sector and create a database for ag businesses to be connected with available resources, including educational opportunities. And do we want to put land clearinghouses in this? Is this where we think that should go? I know that was a conversation of where it should go last time.
Yes, please. Somewhere.
Well, I can put educational opportunities and land clearinghouses right here. That work?
Land and farmer clearinghouses. Because we're trying to connect farmers and land, yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Would that also include as a pipeline for funding opportunities? So if you said it includes educational opportunities, funding opportunities, and land and farmer clearinghouses.
Okay. Educational
Yeah.
and funding opportunities, land and farmer clearinghouses. Should I say including but not limited to?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. All right, the next one, streamline permitting process, collect necessary data from each department, permits, combine and develop a standard metric with various knowledgeable field experts, develop proper training programs for inspectors to assess these standards and advocate for farmers, collate data and distribute to other departments. Okay. Coordinate with research institutions to collect and collate data and provide suggestions for research. Develop transparent and openly accessible databases to collect and collate the data needed for the department and the ag sector. I said, maybe it should say to promote, right? To promote data awareness, including market data to influence import replacement. Does that sound better? Okay. Develop benchmarks to begin meeting minimum local purchasing goals and implement at county level. We have the streamlined permitting process again here, and then I'm gonna delete that because I don't think we need it twice. And then this one, what does it say? Formatting. Oh my gosh, this box is killing me. A threshold transition from eradication to management. Okay, so develop the threshold to decide when to transition from eradication to management. That's what we were saying here, yeah?
What is eradication?
For invasive species.
Oh, I think that would be good to put in there then.
To transition from eradication to management of invasive. Okay.
Is there any way we can request an annual report on this?
Yep, we have things for annual reports that were already put into the previous surveys.
Okay.
Okay, and was there anything that you guys saw that needs to be?
I'd like to talk about the last one, the develop the transition column. I think if we can find ways to do this that are the least toxic, because you know, we don't want the paraquat being sprayed all over the place to get rid of invasive species. I mean, there may be other ways to do it that are less toxic. So like the least toxic management of eradication and management of invasive species.
Sorry, okay, one more time.
Develop the threshold to transition from eradication to management to least toxic management of an invasive species.
Using least toxic methods.
Yes, thank you, Teresa.
Least
Maybe the word
or
effective-
non-toxic?
Well, some of it, sometimes you do need to use the heavy stuff, but it would be other things would be tried first.
William, you had something?
environmentally friendly, but effective. I mean, they're doing stuff like for coquille frogs, I think, isn't it with coffee or lime or something?
Citric acid, yeah.
Yeah.
Citric acid.
So do we want to put least or non-toxic methods or environmentally friendly?
Environmentally friendly, I like that.
Okay, Dano, you trumped me.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
environmentally wrong, yeah.
Environmentally friendly, effective methods.
I think they'll understand that it needs to be
Okay.
effective.
All right, I'll behave.
Okay. Was there anything else we saw for that one?
You know, when
Good.
you get into the killing things, we kind of get excited here.
Salt works.
Okay, so invasive species, here we go. Do we want to move that to invasive species? No, because it's developing the threshold, so that's research. Or do we want to move it to invasive species?
We can add use
Ah.
friendly. We can add the use friendly business here.
Okay.
Go-
Okay,
Do we
Sorry.
have something
What?
for preventive, you know, invasive species like preventive,
We did. We had pre and post doc.
yeah, someplace I thought we talked about that.
yeah, that's the next one we're going on to. I just haven't read it yet.
Okay, sorry.
No,
Can
you're
we
fine.
go back one more time to the research and development?
Mhm.
I just thought about this. Oh, is anyone doing inventory of the invasive species? is,
This probably has a lot of that
Yes.
data.
Yeah.
but I'm thinking about the weeds, the invasive weeds.
Yes.
UHC-TAR has an inventory too. They have an invasive species list.
Okay, great.
Department
Thank
of
you.
Ag also, they
Yeah.
have the PQ site.
Thank you.
Okay, and then, okay, invasive species. So the first one was a full legal assessment of current agricultural cross sectors with the federal and state agencies. Use this assessment to negotiate partnerships and responsibilities with the state and federal government to address shipping, invasive species, land use, workforce development, food security, water use, and funding. So I think we put this under invasive species, but once we do the strategic plans, once we start putting years to this, the sections will kind of fade away and we'll be focusing on the actions in years. So I think this would probably be definitely one of the top things that we need to start out with. So we can leave it here for now. But is there any language that needs to be addressed in that? No? Okay, the next one is begin communications and negotiations with state and federal government to relax rules and regulations for the harvest and consumption of exotic wildlife, both custom, personal use, and commercial use. Work with existing knowledge from the state wildlife biologists to develop a management plan in conjunction with existing community efforts to reach sustainable harvest yields in order to minimize environmental and agricultural damage.
What are we, is this like feral pigs and?
This is
access
invasive
deer?
species, yeah, so it would be exotic wildlife. So develop a management plan for exotic wildlife or feral ungulates.
Feral ungulates, I like that.
Yeah, they kind of don't do other things. They're not doing plants and stuff. Well, not the biologist part,
Okay.
a different
Okay.
section.
Or feral ungulates, okay.
What about birds? There's all kinds of problem birds.
The ringneck
For
parakeet being one of them.
chickens? You're talking about chickens or? This is more talking about a management plan for like access deer, goats, pigs, things like that. Sorry, you're muted, Kenneth.
Might say ungulates there.
There's a problem parrot in Coelho area or someplace out there. Stuff like that. Nene can come into your property. You can't do nothing. You have to walk away from any damage they do because they're protected.
Okay. So I think that might fall under the full legal assessment to see what we actually have the ability to do with like birds in that area.
Well, the biologists should have something on it.
Okay, so feral ungulates and fowl.
Wildlife, fowl, I guess.
Are chickens considered fowl?
Yeah, chickens are
Yeah.
fowl. Birds, this parakeet, this ringneck parakeet would not probably be considered a fowl.
It wouldn't?
I don't think so. I don't know. Does anyone else have a thought on that?
It's a bird.
I don't know.
A fowl is like a ground bird, I believe, like a guinea fowl or a chicken or a peahen or a peacock.
Franklin's.
Yeah, I'm not an expert on the word, but
It says fowl birds collectively, especially as the quarry of hunters. I think that's okay. Birds collectively. And then especially as the quarry of hunters. So I think fowl could be acceptable. But I can highlight it so that when we
You might want to throw
talk
everything
to
in there.
OCS, we can see if they recommend using a different word.
Yeah, you might want to throw it all in because somebody might start letting go rabbits for, other things. I mean, a lot of tropical birds. I mean, I'm seeing even lovebirds and whatnot loose
Yeah.
and getting more and more of.
Well, that's that's where the inspections come in. Like where can we, the F, begin communications with state and federal government to decrease the introduction of invasive species at the airports, ports, retail location, including novel approaches to management treatments, i.e. ozone treatments, pre and post shipping treatments. So, these birds are getting in somehow, they're being smuggled in and they're not being checked properly. So I think
they bring in the eggs mixed with other, eggs, and then they hatch them. That's another way. I mean, I don't know of anyone doing it, but I know that is a way that it could
they
be
bring in
done.
the eggs mixed with pigs.
No, chicken eggs, like you order from the hatcheries, you order, say, on bunch of different chickens, or people order quail, pheasant, things like that too. So you never know what people think of,
But those have to come through the airports and ports, right?
They do.
They come
Okay.
through the post office.
They
Yeah, a
come
lot
to-
of them come to the post office.
And the pet stores too. I mean, I was like noticing pigeons in the pet stores and I'm like, we don't need to be bringing in pigeons. People shouldn't be having pigeons. A pigeon outbreak on the islands would be devastating.
So mail delivery, I included that. So introduction of invasive species at airports, ports, mail delivery, and retail locations.
Yeah,
That pretty much covers it.
So should I say at or via?
Via mail delivery, for sure.
At the airport.
When I farmed, I had to deal with wild turkey. I had to deal with pheasants that the wildlife and forestry division of DLNR raise and then release. All kinds of Franklin partridge, two species. I mean, they're not coming through the airport, they're here.
That's true.
Even skylarks, the skylarks have been here a long time. They eat my cabbage plants.
Wow.
So we're not talking stuff that only comes in. They're already here.
But isn't that what MISC is supposed to do? Isn't MISC
No,
already?
They don't have nothing to do with that. That's wildlife and forestry. But no, the turkey is separate. Nobody, I think Senator Harold Rice brought that in. He used to raise the turkeys and he got released. So the Hawaiian Homes lands, and I was at the bottom of Nalai Road and I used to deal with turkeys.
Okay,
Very
so then
destructive.
for the fowl, do we want to make a separate section to address that, like a separate action? Or can we add language into E to cover it?
I don't think again, you don't want to keep spelling things out. You want to keep it as general as possible.
It's part of the plan.
Well,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, I would leave it in E
Okay.
because, maybe a plan will come up for dealing with fowl. I farm across the street from where Kenneth used to farm, and we trap, eat, and compost all of the above.
Okay,
Well,
Right,
there are
okay.
people letting rabbits go. Are we gonna put rabbits on there too?
I think rabbits should be on there. Totally.
Yeah.
Rabbits would create so much havoc if they
Yeah.
populated the island. It's very expensive to get your rabbits sterilized, unfortunately.
It's cheaper to eat them.
Yeah, you gotta call Mr. McGregor.
I need his,
okay. All right, the last one in this column is negotiate a certification course for community members to get certified to go out on the hunts in order to have approved hunt inspectors for introduced species hunts.
That is
I don't
mostly-
necessarily like that language. I don't think it sounds grammatically very great.
How about create a certification course instead of negotiate? For community members to get, to become qualified to go out on hunts of invasive species. Develop certification course for community members to get approved to go out on hunts, to get
I think we can
qualified.
just say, what if we just took all that out? Develop a certification course for community members to have approved hunt inspectors for introduced species hunts. Is that
What is
okay?
the purpose for the inspector though? To utilize the meat?
Yeah, so
So that is provided by USDA. And it's pretty specific. So I don't know how it would pan out, yeah.
is that why we had negotiate? Because Teresa, this was yours, and then we
Maybe.
opened it up for community members because you originally just wanted farmers or ranchers to be able to do it, remember?
Correct. I remember.
So can we say develop, or do we need to put negotiate back in?
So William, if we want to take people, if we want to sell or processed beef,
Right.
venison, how
Right.
much an hour are we gonna have to pay the state inspectors?
Yeah, I'm not sure, I should get back to Dr. Bell with all these questions and
That
see
was
because-
$81 when we talked to him 6 months ago on the Zoom.
Yeah, so does the state cover it or does the individual person cover it? I think the individual,
was-
yeah.
That was the individual, so that's why
Yeah.
I'm asking if we can get certified ourselves.
Yeah.
Oh, so that would be a negotiation.
Yeah, you gotta check with, work with USDA probably. So the county can maybe work with USDA and see what we can come up with. And so I guess, I don't know, Teresa, is part of your question, to have the county cover the inspection fee, or there won't be a fee if you're self-certified maybe, or something like that, right?
Yeah, I was trying to get away from paying somebody $81 an
Yeah.
hour to come with me.
Yeah, because that takes a lot off the deer. I heard what they paying $40 a deer average. So 2 deer already goes just to pay 1 hour.
And I still owe him a buck.
Pretty high, yeah.
Okay, so that, we changed that language a little bit, but it still kind of has the meaning, negotiate a certification course for community members to have approved community hunt inspectors for introduced species hunts.
We gotta add a little bit on there for
Ungulates?
venison, for sale of venison.
Harvest, sale, and consumption of exotic wildlife? Oh, wait,
No,
we're,
because only if we're selling it, not if we're harvesting it, not if we're consuming it, only if we're selling it.
For introduced species hunts,
for
In
personal,
order to sell the meat to consumption or something like that, I don't know.
for resale.
Jerry, what you got?
I would say develop a certification course for community members to become approved hunt inspectors for introduced species.
to become
Approved hunt inspectors.
hunt inspectors for introduced species.
Hunts
It's
to
just-
allow for the potential for resale.
It's just for access deer. We don't need that for pig or anything else.
What about eradication instead of hunts? Because we just use the word hunt there.
We're
For
not
species.
eradicating.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
different category
It's a
according to the permit system that DoA has.
If you hunt with a helicopter, you can eradicate. If you're just on your feet, you don't stand a chance.
Right.
You're not gonna eradicate.
Get 2 guys, Jerry, 1 on each end.
No, make a circle.
Make a circle, yeah. Okay, good one.
Okay, so is that okay?
That's a start,
Yeah.
clear.
All right. Okay, anything else for invasive species? Okay, education. We've got, the first one is educate and advocate for best agricultural practices for watershed restoration and protection. Develop educational agricultural programs to inform the public of best agricultural practices, i.e. regenerative methods, composting, livestock, carrying capacity, enter CS partnerships, and I'm going to put etc. Educating MPD and the prosecuting attorney's office on ag theft and general theft on ag properties to increase awareness and develop more support for farmers and ranchers. Promote the database that will be developed by the department to connect the community with resources, educational opportunities, and volunteers. Support the P20 state legislation. Weave a thread of ag, science, and learning in all K-12 programs and make accessible to the public. Education program for sellers, real estate agents of ag land to inform purchasers of all requirements. And then create community gardens in communities for local family food production. It says need to add in language specific to education. Make it easier for young farmers to get land and support to be successful. Connection for farmers to available land. Oh, that was a clearinghouse. Can I take that one out? And then provide.
Yes, thank you.
I can take that one out, okay. And then provide education on the what up and previous community studies and plans that address ag-related water issues and best practices for water usage and technologies.
Okay, I have a comment. What about throwing in something related to ag tourism as an educational component?
What are we educating them on?
What it takes to grow food here, and you know what they might like to learn about that. You know how bananas grow. There are some ag tourism farms that bring people on. They work there a little bit, they learn about it, they get to take produce away with them. It is an educational piece that I think is important to include, perhaps. I don't know, what does everyone think about it?
I think that's the each farm or ranch.
Yeah, I think me personally, in the first 5 years, I wouldn't be worried about educating tourists on ag. I think we have a lot more other priorities to get on the table. So this is just what we're proposing, an action plan for the first 5 years. And I think there's so many other things that really need attention. I don't want to spend really any of taxpayer money, educating tourists. I think MBB or the Maui Tourism Board can use some of like their funding to do that. But what do you guys think?
I agree with that.
Agree.
That sounds fine.
Jennifer,
Okay.
can we go back to H, please?
Yes.
Education program for sellers, real estate agents of ag land to inform purchasers of all requirements.
Mhm.
How about a mandate? Mandating them to inform purchasers?
So that would be legislation. So that is something that we would have to talk to the council members about. The
Okay.
department wouldn't be able to mandate them.
Softer word, require.
Okay.
Right, require instead of inform,
Yes.
or require
Education program.
information.
So an education program for sellers. And I have
Without inform.
parentheses, real estate agents.
Require require education program for sellers. Put it right at the very beginning.
No, I don't want to require an education. I want to require the realtors to be forthcoming and tell these purchasers of ag land what they need to do on ag land. They can't just come sit here and just have a big yard. It's ag.
So I think that would be a legislative thing that we would have to actually like legislate or collaborate with the state to require. So we could put in collaborate with the state to require real estate agents to inform purchasers of all requirements on ag land.
Yes, somewhere. Thank you.
So
Yeah,
instead of
really-
a,
you have to be
sorry.
really careful. That could be illegal. So if it's zoned agriculture, then yes. But if it's just a large farm somewhere that isn't zoned, then you can't change the zoning. You can't require something to fit.
I'm
But
not
this-
asking
For ag
to
land.
change zoning. I'm just asking that realtors inform.
That's illegal.
Purchaser.
Yeah, that's illegal. Sorry.
It's
can't-
illegal to tell people what they need to do on ag land, what ag land is supposed to be.
You can say what it is supposed to be, yes, but you cannot either mandate it or require them to say you have to buy this and farm it.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying I want to require realtors to be forthcoming to
Yeah,
purchasers.
they have to buy their insurance. They already have to do that.
But they aren't.
They're not. Thank you, Jerry.
Well, they can be sued. So anybody who knows, who's done that can be sued.
okay, so let's
Oh, there
reword
is a
this then to get the mission of the idea really solidified. So this sounds like collaborate with the state to ensure
Well, this is going to be a county agency, yes?
well, technically, real estate sales fall under, it's a Department of Commerce.
Okay.
So that would be state. So you would have to
Okay.
collaborate with the state to, because they would be the ones that would be able to crack down on the real estate agents for not informing them.
Yes, you got it. Yes.
Okay, so collaborate with the state to ensure that sellers, real estate agents of ag land inform purchasers of all requirements. Is that okay?
Wait, collaborate with the state to ensure that sellers, the real estate agents of ag land to inform purchase of all requirement to buyer.
Inform
They have to
purchaser.
do that. That's what they have to do now. Again, they can be sued if they don't. That's law is already in place.
So, yeah, we understand that the law is in place, but we're asking to collaborate with the state to ensure that that's happening.
But what more can they do than that they're doing now?
Well, if the collaboration is, well, we already are doing that, and we say they're not doing that, so then the collaboration process would be finding ways to investigate that or to find out like how to be like,
You can do that right now. You can raise, if you think an agent didn't do a job, you can raise that, threaten their license, sue them, and you can take it to the RAM. There's multiple places that if you think it's not happening, that you can take that complaint to right now.
I
to
don't
get it
think RAM would
processed.
do anything about it.
I would
It's
disagree
their
with
word
that.
against mine. They
I
can
know
say,
what
I
Miranda-
did. They can say, I did.
Yeah, Gary, we hear way more stories about people who purchased a piece of land and then want to repair their roof. And then it turns out that a farm plan hadn't been developed or registered, and they have to go through misery because the real estate agent didn't tell them about that. We hear that much more commonly than hear stories of real estate agents being sued for.
That's an errors and omission $1 million lawsuit.
Well, we understand that, but it's happening on a large scale. So there has to be some way to develop a program or collaborate with the state in order to address the issue.
Enforcement.
To ensure enforcement against real estate agents of ag land that do not, do we want to put it that way?
Send us the link to that place so we can turn in. We need that.
Yeah, the Realtors Association.
Is that,
It's really, really, really bad that, you know, people buy and they tell them all the crooked stuff you can do and get away, and they're happy, and then they make the sale. That's
Mhm.
Yeah,
kind
you
of,
don't have to, you can pretend, or you can just have a little bit. Yeah, you just have to show $1,000. Yeah, just pay GE taxes on 1,000. You don't even have to do anything. Yeah.
so we've got collaborate with the state to ensure enforcement of regulations for sellers, real estate agents that do not inform purchasers of ag land of all requirements to buyers. Oh, wait, that doesn't make sense.
You got purchasers of ag land and to buyers. That's why there's too many.
Is that better?
Yes.
So the I'm still stumbling over for sellers, real estate agents. So these are the agents that, I mean, there's multiple agents. There's a seller's agent and there's the buyer's agent. So we really want the buyer's agent to inform their client about these regulations.
I think
That's
both
correct.
should be responsible now.
What?
Shouldn't both be responsible for disclosing that information?
Okay, well then do seller and buyer real estate agents.
Just take out seller, all real estate agents.
Okay, that works. That, okay.
Better, thank you.
All right, and then what is the need to add in specific language specific to education for the community gardens?
Maybe communities need to be taught how to grow food.
Yep, provide educational material to help them start.
A
isn't that
mentor.
happening with CTAR? Don't they do something like that?
They
Mhm.
do up at the Kula Egg Park, but like
Oh.
say, I don't know if they have like community gardens, say in
Yes, they do.
Waduku.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, they
Yes.
have a program for that and an agent assigned to it too, I believe.
Yes.
The Master
Right.
Garden Program.
Yeah, the master gardener. I'm a master gardener. So yes, they do have those programs and they have them
We
on a
have some.
regular quarterly basis.
So do we need this in the first 5 years of the department?
Maybe instead of create, support.
Okay.
Because it's created, and
Yeah.
maybe they can support it. Because CTAR is hurting financially for their programs,
Yeah,
like big time.
UH is hurting.
Yeah, UH is a part of the umbrella, yeah.
yeah, I would say support opportunities for community gardens and educational programs.
Put initiatives too, so that is new and old.
Yeah. Good.
This was the one that had the word, the P something, P garden.
E-patch.
what?
E-patch. Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, them community gardens. That's the P patch, guys.
Can it be specified to be using school or county land for that? Like school land?
The Department of
No.
Education, you have to be careful there.
I think in the communities are nice too. Hali'imaile is not a school.
Okay, so I could just put including the leasing of county-owned land.
Yes.
Great.
Even state land, there's little pieces of state land here and there.
Maybe we
That's a
can
good
get,
idea.
can do
Change-
trades.
Yeah.
You know,
Change
Lane,
county to government.
anyway,
Okay.
Lane Huff does a school garden program.
Maui School Garden Network.
And
Specific.
most of the schools participate, so it's on state land.
Well, that's DOE, and they had to go and talk to each school specifically, and it's not for community food production. It's not for family food production. It's just for educational purposes. So they
Exactly.
might sell some of it, but most of it is, you know, the kids might munch on it or something, but they're not production gardens for sure.
Well,
It's different program.
the Kula Community Association talked to the Kula school, so it may happen what you're describing, that it cannot be done. I had recommended that they use the land in front of the Waiakoa gym, which isn't being used, but it's county land.
Yeah, I mean, it can be done like separate hat. I'm the founder of Common Ground, and we're doing a community garden where it's 100 by 75 feet. We're planting all root crops, and that's going to go all to feed people in need. None of it's actually going to be sold, so that is for local food production for people in need, and that'll pump out anywhere between 4,000 to 6,000 pounds of food a year. So it can be done. You just have to have the support for those initiatives to take place.
Yeah.
And the
I
land.
think-
We were lucky enough to get a private landowner to give us the land.
I think it's a two-part thing, you know, the school system and they kind of learn, and then that goes into community. Like you said, the school systems aren't feeding communities, but there's an educational part of it, and the
Yeah.
kids get interested, and then they can maybe roll into the next phase later on, the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with the school systems, one of the things is over the summer and the breaks, it's really hard to manage those because they don't have the resources to keep them going during those times, because those teachers are usually on break and stuff. So there's gaps that could definitely use support. Okay. We're gonna go, any more on that education section?
So
Okay.
are we,
Last
do we
one there.
talk anywhere about organic versus conventional education? Since, you know, we're working on reducing emissions and carbon capture and that kind of thing, is there a way we can address like Go Farm, they'll address conventional agriculture and organic. You know, they offer two different programs in their educational. The farmers get to choose which one they want to learn about.
The Farmers Union has a program, their own program, and funding from the county.
Yeah.
It's the same program.
And I think with the community gardens, it would be up to whoever is managing those. I don't think you could enforce them to use one type of method or the other.
No.
But that can be a little problematic, because if someone's trying to grow organically and the person next to them is using conventional agriculture, or say they have, you know, they're growing plants for pollinators, and someone right next to them is spraying pesticides that would kill the pollinators, that could be, you know, like a conflict.
Yeah, and that would have the county, it would be really hard for them to get involved in every single management of a community garden and decipher the rules. So that would be up to each community garden. They would have to develop those rules each, because otherwise we're just going to get so in the weeds with the department trying to like micromanage everything that it would be really difficult. I think if
Yeah,
we
I
can
agree.
just get more food out there at this point, and then we can focus on the more, you know, intricate stuff later is probably the way to go. We just want more food to be grown here at the moment. And, you know, I know most people that are doing community gardens are leaning more to the organic side, to be honest, but there will be some that do conventional.
Okay, I just wanted to mention it. Thank you.
Do community gardens in general have some sort of board or something like that of, say, 3 out of the 20 people that have plots there that kind of comprise a group that oversees things, and they develop their own protocols and stuff like that?
Yeah, so it becomes an organization with like a board or management, you know, staff that kind of helps enforce the rules. They'll call and check up, they'll take the payments and stuff, so that those will be independent efforts apart from the county. We're just offering the support for those initiatives and programs.
Yeah, so that would be the place where organic versus conventional are trying to parse space to have maximum distance, et cetera, rather than putting that load on the county.
Okay.
Okay, next one is, wait, sorry, someone's in the chat. And Grow Some Good is looking into how to support a network of community gardens in the future. So there'll be future spaces that have that important discussions. Okay, so yeah, I think that will be, that's something that the community and those programs and organizations can focus on, supporting those different efforts. All right. Okay, so anything else with education, or can we move to markets and distribution?
Let's move.
Okay, develop a food distribution plan on island and inter island for the whole county. I guess we should say secure or fund food access coordinator positions for each island. Expand Maui, Lanai, and Molokai food hub efforts. Develop a plan to support food system resiliency. Lauren, was there a different language that you guys were wanting with this one?
Actually, between food systems resiliency plan and a plan for distribution, I think that will cover it all for a Maui food system plan.
Okay.
We can add an information just maybe in the future about collaborating with the Alliance, or maybe it doesn't need to be in the strategic plan, but the Maui Nui Food Alliance is here to support in any way it can.
Okay. Yeah, and I think, once the department's developed, as we put the years on this, if there's anything that they can outsource and work with other organizations to help do, I'm sure that they're going to do that, Okay, the next one is develop programs to support local agricultural product retailers and marketers. Support SNAP.
I have a question on. I have a question on G, and I can't see what else is coming. Maybe it's already addressed, but what about developing a program including exporting, because there are plenty of things that we could be, like when all the avocados go off, we have plenty avocado for local, and maybe there are some opportunities here for export.
So this plan is just addressing the first 5 years. And right now we're importing a ton of avocados. So I think focusing on getting them into local markets and pushing out exports is probably the first priority over starting off with exports.
Okay.
So I think that was kind of like in the comments, it's all about, developing local food security. So I think, further down the road, once we have our system more set up and we feel like we are stable, then the department can shift that focus from local food security to incorporating more export opportunities.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, develop programs to support SNAP, Debucks, Feeding Maui Nui, Aloha Plates to Go, and the Kapuna support programs, and WIC at farmers markets and retailers, ? So
how about Feed My Sheep? Including Feed My Sheep.
So the county does support Feed My Sheep and the food bank currently.
And several others.
Sorry, what?
And several others.
Yeah. So these are ones that are newer programs, I'm guessing, or programs that haven't been fully established.
Not SNAP, is it?
How about a common ground in here? Is this a
I don't
place
feel
to-
comfortable putting specifically my organization leading this. I appreciate that. But I feel like that would be a conflict of interest on my part.
Okay,
Should we say gleaning networks?
there you go.
We do get support from the county, so we'll just leave it with the people that haven't gotten the support yet, but I really appreciate that, you guys. It means a lot. Okay, so I'm gonna unhighlight that. So is that okay? Support SNAPs to Bucks, Feeding Maui Nui, Aloha Plates to Go, the Kapuna support programs, and WIC at farmers market and retailers.
Good.
Okay, and the
I have a-
next one. Oh,
I had a question on that.
Yeah.
So SNAP is a federal program.
mhm.
So,
So we're supporting the implementation of SNAP at farmers market and retailers.
so would that be that you would, like Janet trained to, there's some training you have to go through and things like that. So, you know, she did that gratis, right? Just did it because she said this is something we should do. So this would be a form of support that the county could provide?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
And then develop farm, food safety and product development programs. Develop marketing and procurement co-ops. Language okay on those, or add or change anything for markets and distribution?
You know, I think CTAR already has a pretty good farm food safety program.
Okay. So support
Yes,
or,
Yeah, support,
okay.
support.
yeah, because they've already done the heavy lifting on that. So, and they're always looking for more people to take the classes.
What about product development programs? I know that HMC has like the Food Innovation Center. Are those the only two that we know of? Do we want to say support and develop additional?
Do what?
Do we want to say support and develop additional? I mean, for product development,
For university or what?
for in general, like for agricultural product development? Basically, we have a ton of different resources agricultural wise that are not being turned into products. These are missed opportunities, missed industries. So we want to support the development of those products. I know that the Food Innovation Center at UHMC does a little bit. So we could say support and develop so that we're supporting existing and developing additional.
Yeah, I'm the
think that
main
sounds
teacher there
good.
now. Jennifer, I'm the main teacher at the Food Innovation Center.
Uh-huh.
So I just what we're I'm still not sure where you want to go with this. There's a lot of activities through the university, through MEO, through MEDB already in this works. What additional are you looking at?
Well, I mean, we have thousands of different things that grow here on island and each can be made into products. Is that something that you feel like your program could handle, or do you think there should be additional programs to start developing those industries?
They could use additional resources. If they had more teachers, then yes, we could accommodate all those. So we're having a course a quarter just because we have a limitation of resources. But we could do 10 courses a quarter.
But it would all have to be through the college?
No?
No, okay.
So
So-
we're doing courses through MEO and MEDB. So
Okay.
it's just as name it's Q.
Okay, so support is sufficient then.
Yes.
Lauren Nelson has to go. Thank you, Lauren. We really appreciate you too.
Really, really appreciate you guys. Good night, everyone.
Night. Okay, the next one is, oh, okay, that was the question. So is there questions on any of other ones of these?
It doesn't look like there's any promotion of more local food, farm stands, that kind of thing. Is that in here somewhere for distribution? Markets and distribution, there's nothing that addresses additional small kind farmer markets.
Develop programs to support local agricultural product retailers and markets?
Yeah, I'm just thinking more localized farmer markets so people don't have to drive so far to get to the farmer,
But that might be, that would be one of the things where the Department of Agriculture acts in part as a clearinghouse. So if you're a farmer, they can tell you, here's all the resources that you have that you can apply for in terms of grants and regulations. This is what you need to be aware of. And oh, by the way, because of your situation on your piece of property, you are allowed by the planning department to have a farm stand on your property.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure how many farmers are aware of that. I don't know how many farmers would want to have that. You know, it works at Maui Bees, right? Because they're close to the highway. It doesn't work at the bottom of Naʻalai Road because it's a dead end.
Right. So is that addressed somewhere in markets and distributions here, or is it just an assumed thing that that is?
I think we were generalizing markets, so it could be any type of market.
Okay. Well, maybe education on farmers that they can actually possibly have a farm stand on their own farm. Because I
Yeah,
didn't know.
We do have like an education talking about like best practices and developing database that will connect them with resources and education and things like that up here.
Right, I see that, but this is, as long as it includes that kind of information, that'd be great. You know,
Yeah, we're trying to have it be a comprehensive place for all information. We're just not, we're trying to be more general because if we list everything, it gets really like wordy.
Understand.
Yeah.
Allowable ag activities? Somewhere?
Okay, so you,
Would that go in education somewhere? Allowable ag activities?
educational
markets and
agriculture,
distribution.
best practices and public of allowable ag activities and best agricultural practices. Is that okay?
That's good.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, workforce development. So I guess we've got fund a workforce coordinator. On-farm housing owner and laborers review the incentives and obstacles for farm labor housing, including permitting processes and how the Department of Planning may help it make easier for landowners to develop farm labor housing while making sure that it's used for this purpose. Work with MEO, MEDB, and UHMC and the public and private sector to increase. Sorry, I'm just trying to edit as we go. Increase agricultural related industries, occupational skills, training and educational opportunities. And okay, and then gather data from agricultural related businesses on obstacles that prevent farm workers from being paid livable wages and develop programs and incentives to address this issue. Okay, do we see anything else for workforce development?
From the Kula Ag Park perspective, one of the main reasons why they don't allow people to live there is because it's non-potable water. So I always think it's better for farmers to live as close to their farm as possible, if not on it. But the non-potable water issue is one of the things that gets raised when the topic is brought up about the Kula Ag Park.
And yet all vegetables are required to be washed with potable water.
Right, so how does that work?
Well, then you grow onions instead of greens,
Because they get peeled, right?
right?
But there's a lot of people growing cabbage and other crops that do need to be washed. So I think addressing potable water for workforce development for farms is a consideration.
So that would be part of review the incentives and obstacles. That
Yes,
would be what they would be tasked with.
yes, good call.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then resource regeneration and protection. hire a waste resource regeneration specialist, work to develop a comprehensive countywide composting system, including plans to evaluate expansions to district facilities. Do we want to say fund a centralized industrial composting facility?
Yes.
Okay. Work with
That'll save the
existing,
county, it'll save the county a lot of money at the dump.
yeah, in the long run, for sure. Work with existing efforts, the workforce development coordinating position and DEM to develop a comprehensive ag waste management system and countywide composting plan. Work with
That sounds
legislators.
juicy.
Work with legislators to allow commercial composting as an approved ag activity on agricultural lands. Recommend to the county council to expand the number of people on Kula Ag Court committees to involve Go Farm, Ag Working Group, and Maui Tomorrow, etc. Recommend the water department to review the ag water rates and criteria for farmers who are starting out or who donate their food to nonprofits.
Thank you, Jen.
Make it easier for young farmers to get land to farm and support to be successful. Connections for farmers. Oh, this is the clearinghouse again. So I can take that one out because we got it up above.
Yes.
Do we want to move this one up to water?
Yes, that would be a good place for it to be.
Okay. Is anybody opposed?
One thing I brought up today at the Kula Egg Park is to look into, since the county is doing more well digging to provide upcountry water usage, to look at the county egg parks to dig their own wells and not rely on the ditch system, especially during droughts where the water might be diminished for those farmers growing crops at the egg parks. I don't think anyone ever thought of that.
I don't know. I just don't know what they listen to currently. All right, contracts and procurement assistance to promote local production and import substitution with a focus on local food security. First, on local food security, enhance opportunities to increase the ability for farmers to supply school lunches, small farmers to connect with small private schools, harvest of the month. Do we know what the harvest of the month is? Did I miss
Right now,
out?
star fruit.
Oh,
Whatever the crop is this month, the happy crop.
oh, like seasonal fruits, seasonal
Yes.
produce? Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
It's part of the Aina Pono program in DOE. So it would be like a fruit or vegetable that was all for like all of the schools or the ones that are in the Aina Pono program
Okay.
that was locally grown. Yeah.
Okay. So we can leave it like that and it's understandable. Yeah. Okay. Support the creation of a co-op to collect what is needed for the school meals and then distribute to smaller scale schools. Focus on institutions and organizations in Maui County for contracts and procurement. Okay. Department needs to be appraised of the movement of institutional purchasing and contribute to its successes. Explore military as a market for institutional purchasing.
Do we have military on island?
Oahu.
Okay, I thought this was more focused in Maui County.
Well, it's kind of way over to the right side, so maybe it's one of those things, kind of like the export markets, that once we kind of get our feet under ourselves and we have an abundance of rutabagas, the military might be a good option.
What about providing some of the senior centers, senior housing facilities that cook for their residents?
I like that.
Institutions.
Exploring those markets, yes. Who else? There's a hospital, they provide food.
That
There's
is
other,
institution. That is next one in the F. Institution. We did that.
So institutions and community, should I put community organizations?
Yeah, we have it under F already.
Oh, okay.
You know, we're talking like Kalama Hill, Rosalani, the hospital. Yeah, we had this conversation. Institution, we thought that covered it.
then I think exploring the military as a market for institutional purchasing could be something that could be done after 5 years, like some of the other things. I don't know if that's something that really is going to be crucial for the first 5 years.
I agree.
Okay, so we're gonna take that out. Okay. Oop. And transportation, collaborate with the Hawaii PUC, provide advocacy, education, and resources to minimize cost and other barriers for transportation, crops lost, or livestock lost in transportation. Promote access to the ag community to federal programs that reduce the cost of transportations, help farmers be aware of subsidy programs for transportation costs from the Farm Service Agency, coordinate transportation sharing to support the distribution of local products, recommend the requirement of an audit 1 year after annually after rates are increased to see if the increase is justified. INA Pono program.
Okay, I might be getting tired here, but recommend the requirement of an audit 1 year after annual, and 1 year after.
And annually.
After rates are increased, what rate?
The shipping rates from the PUC. So this is transportation.
PUC is,
Public Utilities Commission. So like Matson just was allowed to raise their rate. Was it Matson or Young Brothers?
Young Brothers.
Young Brothers, it was allowed to raise their rates. So we're asking that an audit be required 1 year after and annually after rates are increased to see if the increase is justified.
okay, might it help to say PUC in there, or, after shipping rates are increased, or?
It already says it in B, the whole mother statement.
Okay. Okay. I'm
And
fine.
then theft, vandalism, and liability. Work with the Maui Police Department and the Police Department, county, and state to address the losses from agricultural theft, poaching, and vandalism. Develop programs to educate MPD and address liability issues. I think we had that under education already. Right?
I think so.
Okay, so can we take that out? I'll go up and make sure, but I'm like 90% sure. Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, it looks more developed there too.
Okay.
Well, you weren't here last week. We were doing our best.
No, you guys did an amazing job. I am not in any way criticizing you.
We said it
Contract,
again. We just said it again.
you guys are being very thorough. I appreciate it. Nothing was
Stuck
lost.
it all over the place.
Contact and reviews with all departments pertaining to theft, poaching, vandalism, and liability. Can you guys let me know what that means?
Nope.
No, like I gotta remember, we might need to watch the recording.
One main thing was the police department. They
Yeah,
don't seem to be serious, and they really don't give a shit if your stuff got stolen. They're like, oh, it's just food, you know what I mean?
Right?
And it's been my experience that the officers that come out to ag theft don't understand the charges. They don't understand what's
Yeah.
going on. They don't understand the seriousness.
I'm gonna shoot in the dark. I wasn't there. But I'm guessing you guys are asking for reviews of each department annually pertaining to theft coaching. So you're like touching base with each department.
Yes, yes, that
Yeah.
was it. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe data
Yeah,
too, I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna say touch base or
Review annually,
view annually with
because we got a new police chief. And then
Right.
hopefully,
That's what we were thinking too, is, when there's turnover or people, different appointments and stuff, that it would be good to just reiterate with different departments.
It would be nice to have the police department actually have someone dedicated to agricultural theft, poaching, vandalism. Like someone who's been trained.
okay. I don't know that
Well,
we can't implement any other department to hire anybody.
Or to educate someone in that department, like to help educate them.
Yeah,
Maybe
we
that would
did
be
have
their education.
that was up top, develop educational programs to educate MPD and prosecuting attorney's office and all that. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
this is review annually with county departments pertaining to theft, poaching, vandalism, and liability to obtain feedback. Is that kind of what you guys were shooting for?
Sure.
Is that, did I just make it up?
No, we can watch the recording, but I'm pretty sure that was also towards the end of our night.
You guys are hilarious. I love it. Okay, so we got through all of the reviews. What do you guys think is best? Should I just start putting this into a survey so that we can kind of do a test run with the survey first? And we can send that out to the group so you guys can start putting years on this and we can kind of see where they add up and then have the next meeting to kind of discuss that.
That might be a good
Okay, yeah.
idea.
And that way we can have a trial run at the survey.
You can rank and rate,
Yeah,
prioritize, yes.
that's good. Okay. Is there anybody that would want to help me with that?
I'll help you.
Okay, awesome. Yay.
Thank you, Gary.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that's it, folks. You guys did a phenomenal job. We got through all of it. Nobody had a stroke, so that is the positive thing. I appreciate you all so much. So if there is anything else that you guys want to discuss, Jerry, were you here for the conversation at the beginning about the different breakdowns of farm sizes? And
I just came in at the tail end of it.
okay, if you want, I can catch you up on that afterwards. Or if anybody else wants to catch up. But everybody else, you guys are awesome. I hope you have a wonderful week and happy Veterans Day and all of the above. Much love to all you guys. And yeah, I will be on afterwards if anybody has any questions.
Take care, Jen. Thank you.
Jen.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
You know how to reach me, Jen. Just let me know when you want to work.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
hey Jen, can we take a peek at education for the police department?
Oh,
What
yes.
it looks like up there, please?
Yes. Maybe. Why is my screen not working now? Oh, because I'm all the way at the top. Okay, wait, education, here we go. Educating MPD and the prosecuting attorney's office on agricultural theft and general theft on ag properties to increase awareness and develop more support for farmers and ranchers.
Does that cover it?
I feel like that's, yeah. I think honestly, I don't think they're just being, like ridiculous. They just don't really grasp how these are businesses, and they need to be able to make that connection that if a store lost $500 or $1,000 worth of merchandise, that is the equivalent of even just one tree being stripped or one cow being shot, or you know what I mean? They just need to have that educational connection to make sure that they're enforcing properly.
Yes, yeah, well, we had an officer come out and he didn't, he's telling me just trespassing is a misdemeanor, or, coming out, trespassing, or
Mhm.
hunting. It can't be. So I asked another police officer, if you have animals in that property, it's a felony.
Okay, yeah, so those are the things that they need
Yeah.
education on, and it needs to be a program that is probably continuous with their recruits and things like that to make sure that information is not lost.
Yeah, and just, well, yeah, the guys who have the upcountry beat, they, this is the Aggie area, or, well, Mahipono too. But yeah, they need to know the difference between, yep, okay, good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good job tonight, thank you.
Do I need to, oh, Jerry, I was gonna go over the last bit with you. So we were talking about the resource targeting for the department, which will have them put the majority of focus on what we decided on was these second breakdowns of gross cash farm income. So we decided to go with the 5 and then just have them focus on low and moderate. And that doesn't exclude anybody. It just tells the department their main focus needs to be on this. They need to go out of their way to make sure they're helping these people. They can't just sit back like the state and whoever has the resources to navigate the system or who gets help. They need to go out and actually target assistance for these low and moderate agricultural operations. So we're not using farms. We're going to change it to agricultural operations. And for the low farm sales, we're not just putting less than 150,000. We're saying 1,000 to 150,000. And then we're also going to add in the language, the department must accommodate cultural and language sensitive materials
Right,
and
I was here for
provide,
that.
huh?
I was here for that.
Okay,
that part.
okay. And
Yeah.
the special consideration for minority owned ag operations.
Yeah,
Okay. I just wanted to make sure you were part of that conversation.
okay, yeah, I think I'm caught up now.
Okay, awesome.
Sorry I was late.
No, don't be sorry. It's fine. You were feeding cows. They need to eat.
Yeah, I was feeding cows, getting gas, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff.
Okay, I'm going to stop recording.